Hey, it's another week, another recipe, and today we are headed back to 1940s wartime Poland because I found a mock cream recipe that I wanted to try, and come to find out, back then, blueberry pierogis were the thing to eat with it. Come join me in the kitchen and we'll see how it goes. Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name's Courtney Morris and I cook history's forgotten recipes out of random cookbooks I find and sometimes websites. If you're coming back for more, I am so grateful that you decided to join me again, and if you're new here, I hope you enjoy this experiment as much as I hope I do. Alright, so today we are going back to 1940s wartime, but we're going into Poland instead. I sometimes need to remind myself that Great Britain and America weren't the only players in World War II, and tons of people in different countries were affected on the home front. So because of the war and different political issues, shortages of ingredients occurred everywhere. I've always wanted to dive deep into what other countries had to do for rationing or making up their own recipes because of shortages, but half of my problem has been the language barrier. But then genius over here figured out that Google translates pages from a different language into English. So I decided to go onto the Polish Google site and then translate into English a recipe that I found that sounded interesting to me because I've never tried it. It sounds kind of good, and it's got a mock cream that I'm not sure sounds great, but I'm gonna try it. So today we are going to be making blueberry pierogis with a mock cream sauce. And I'm gonna start with 500 grams of flour and then 1 egg. So now pierogis are the Polish version of dumplings. And you can find dumplings all over the world, except America, because we don't have a dumpling per se unless it's ours is more of like a matzo ball kind of dumpling where you put it in soup. Ours isn't filled like a pot sticker or like a pierogi. This happens to be, pinch of salt by the way. This happens to be a sweet filled one. And then 50 grams of butter. And then 250 milligrams of hot but not boiling water. We're gonna mix this around, and then I'm gonna switch to my hands because, like pie crust, I feel like your hands are just kind of the best tool for the job. All right, so this isn't a very sticky dough. It's not awful dry. It's just really nice and soft. And then we're gonna let this sit in the fridge for about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back to it and fill it up. All right, so while that is chilling in the fridge, I am going to measure out my blueberries and mix it around with some sugar because that's going to be the filling. Now, I'm pretty sure you would end up using fresh blueberries only for the sheer fact that that's what you had. You had blueberry bushes, probably wild, and I do know that back then when things were going on, you just kind of used whatever you could find, and a lot of times that meant seasonal fruit, like things that didn't normally exist in your season wasn't there because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that Germany really wanted to make it a point to bring things back home, back local. And so they ended up stopping a lot of the imports of foods to Germany, at least. I'm not entirely sure if they did that to everyone that they took over. Either way, blueberries seemed to be a thing. All right, so I have got 500 grams of blueberries. This is gonna make a lot of dumplings. Oh well, I hope they freeze well. If they freeze well, then I'll be happy because then I'll have dessert. And we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm not sure how this is supposed to thicken up. I know I'm supposed to probably use fresh blueberries, but all I've got is frozen at the moment. So we're just gonna make that work. It might end up being a little watery though. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let my blueberries thaw a little bit and then drain out any juices that happen to come out before I put them in the dumpling. All right, our dough is chilled now and ready to be rolled out. And I'm gonna do this, I think, in sections because this is gonna make a lot of dumplings. All right, it said I'm supposed to get 50 out of this, so let's see. I also don't have a biscuit cutter, so we're using a juice glass and hope that it's gonna be big enough. I don't think I have any glasses with a wider mouth than this, aside from maybe like a quart jar. I'm gonna do this quarter here. I think I'm just gonna start with that and maybe make the rest of them off camera because that's a lot of dumplings. All right, so I've let my blueberries just kind of chill for a little bit, or rather unchill for a little bit, and I drained them. And now we're just gonna put a little bit in the middle. I'm not sure how much. I think probably just a little under a tablespoon, because you do have to cover it and make room to be able to push it closed. I want one of those little pastry fluter things. That would look cute. Is this how they're supposed to look? If any Polish people out there watching, is this correct? I think it's correct. It looks kind of like what they do on some pictures I've seen on the internet. All right, so I'm only gonna start with 9 of them because 50 is daunting at the moment, and I wanna see how these go. And I feel like these have been around for eons. Just like the apple pie video I did, it hasn't really changed, unless you're trying to be uber fancy, in hundreds of years. Same with this stuff. Pie crust and a wild berry filling hasn't changed in a long, long time. So even the modern recipes that call for all of this, it's pretty much the exact same thing they would have eaten in the 1940s, in the 1840s, and back to whenever these things were invented. So I'm gonna set these aside while I've got a pot of water boiling on the stove so we can boil these in just a few minutes. And we're gonna start on this mock cream. This is the part that made me want to make these in the first place. Because back in the war, at least I know in Britain for sure, they had mock everything, because we as human beings are creatures of comfort and of habit, and we tend to put emotions to food and comfort food. And when you're in a crazy situation like wartime, what better to bring you back to a sense of zen than something familiar? And unfortunately, when you're rationed or things just aren't available, those familiar items have to kind of be substituted with other things. So I decided to try this because it's milk, sugar, and potato flour as a mock cream, and I'd like to try it. Okay, so I could not, for the life of me, find a recipe with measurements for this at all. I could not find Polish recipe books with any of this. I could not find any websites with this. The only thing that it mentioned is that kids really like it, and it's potato flour, sugar, and milk. So we're just gonna make something up and see how this goes, which I'm sure happened. So I have potato flour on hand at all times because I use it in my baking all the time. So I'm just going to make enough, I think, to be able to be useful, but not enough for it to just be kind of wasteful. Milk to consistency, because I know it's supposed to be like a sour cream looking consistency rather than a, you know, bread dough consistency. I have a feeling this is going to take quite a bit of liquid because potato flour sucks in moisture. That's why baked goods with any potato flour in it, it tastes so good. All right, let's do this. So this is supposed to be like a whipped cream, sour cream consistency. Well, it's not moving, so that's good. I just made mashed potatoes. Here, I was thinking I'd need more flour, but more milk it is. I am making a mess. This is on the lowest setting. Oh, what does that smell like? It smells like something I know. It smells kind of like a soggy cereal from my childhood. Well, I guess I'm gonna clean up my kitchen, and it's all over the fridge. Whoops. Anyway. All right, now it's starting to fluff like a cream. That's kind of cool. I never knew that would happen with this. I think that's more of a consistency of cream that I want. So, all right, we'll just call that good. I'm gonna clean this up and then we'll go see if our water's boiling. All right, so we are going to shove these in. And they said 15 at a time, but I only did 9, so we're just gonna put those in. And they said after they begin to float, then time it for 4 minutes. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see this real awful well, but they're starting to puff up, and it's starting to smell like blueberry. All right, they are done, and I don't know if I did these right. They kind of look like pot stickers, but with blueberries in them. I think I made these a little thin though, because you can see the blueberries. I don't know if that's right. Let's give it a shot. I'm gonna try one with a little thicker crust, so maybe it won't fall apart. I'm gonna try it without the mock cream first, just to see how, oh, I'm leaking. And also, I lost 2 in the boiling water. Apparently you're supposed to seal these really, really tight, and I didn't. So let's give it a shot. That's kind of sour, but I think that's because it's my blueberries. I bet if you used in season, right off the bush blueberries, it would be a lot better. Or if I put a ton more sugar in this. Or I'm just American and used to really, really sweet stuff and don't know what actual fruit tastes like. I don't know. It's kind of like what I thought it would be. It tastes like a blueberry flavored noodle. It's very juicy. I mean, obviously we just used sugar in it, so it did not get thick. It's okay. It's not terrible. I'm gonna try it with this mock cream. Now remember, this mock cream is not cream at all, it's potato. So, you know, I figured out what it reminds me of. It reminds me of when you let all brand cereal sit in milk for a while. That's what it smells like. But I basically just made sweet mashed potatoes, so let's see what happens. That's not bad. It's actually really not bad. For not having cream and making some sort of cream topping, that is sweet enough. And yes, I think I put enough sugar in that to offset my blueberries. That's not grainy, it's not chunky, it's quite nice. It's actually really, really nice. It's good to know that I have another recipe that if we really didn't have dairy or anything like that, that I could make something that I'm pretty sure my kids would, at least would eat. I don't know about my husband, but who knew sweet mashed potatoes was a thing? That's really quite good. Bottom line is I think this is pretty dang good. Honestly, I don't think it's going in my personal recipe book, but now I know that there is something that I could create on almost nothing that would be some sort of a comforting dessert that would almost feel like the real thing. If you do try this, let me know how this goes, and if you do make this, let me know what I did wrong, if I did anything wrong, because I followed the recipe, but I'm sure there's other variations, just like any other wartime recipe where people just had to make do. If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate the support. I hope you enjoyed this little experiment as much as I did. Please hit the subscribe button. I upload every Monday for you. Hit the little bell notification and it'll let you know as soon as I do. If you liked this video, give it a like. It helps the algorithm and lets my videos be seen a little bit more on YouTube, which I would love to reach more of you and find out more of your stories. Please drop me a recipe, drop me a comment, let me know you're here. I have been having a grand time talking with a bunch of you about your personal stories and about your parents and what they experienced, and it has been fabulous. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday with another historical experiment. Bye!